The biggest ego trap in spirituality. This is something that very few people talk about, and that's what I want to share here today with you guys. So, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Engineer community. Here, Tommy Walker, the Mind Engineer. And let's dive into this amazing topic about the biggest, problem that I see out there in spirituality. One of the first things that I want you guys to understand is that as you grow in your spiritual journey, your ego is also learning and growing. So remember, the ego is part of the creation that we did when we were kids and we didn't feel loved, we didn't feel accepted, right? We created a persona, an identity separate from who we truly are to try to protect us, right? So from there, first of all, we need to understand that the ego is not the enemy. The ego is just trying to keep us safe from a limited, point of view. Another thing is, as you grow spiritually and you start understanding, oh, I need to forgive, and people start forgiving because they are told that they need to forgive. That is an ego trap many times. Because if we really connect, and I've worked with a lot of people that suddenly they start connecting with some incident that somebody did or said something to them that really triggered something, they suddenly realize that they haven't really forgiven. What they did is to try to numb the pain, they try to forgive because that's what they had to do in their spiritual journey. And we got to be very careful because the ego is very sneaky. It's not going to tell you, hey, Tommy, I'm playing this game over here, look over here, look over here. No, the ego is kind of a magician, right? That is telling you, Tommy, look over here, while the trick is happening over here. So an example that I just gave is the forgiving. Another thing that I see that is one of the biggest problems, more of this, is people that are starting to say that they cannot be around certain people, that they cannot do their jobs anymore because now they're spiritual. So a lot of people start going into isolation, right? And saying that that's spirituality. And I'm sorry, folks, if that were spirituality, then you wouldn't have incarnated in this world. What I truly believe is that we're spiritual beings living a human experience, but we're meant to have this human experience, interact with others. What you're actually doing most of the times, and I'm not saying to put up with crap, don't get me wrong, please don't, make this conversation about that because it's not about that. But what I'm trying to share here is that when you're feeling hurt, the mind is going to say, oh, I cannot be around people like this, and you're going to walk away. But you're not really being able to maybe set boundaries. You're not being able to work on what is really triggering inside of you. A lot of people move away from what they call the pain is, other people's situations and things like that, but they never work on what's going on within them. And what I've learned is that the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is going to bring people and circumstances your way to show you where you are hurting. So when somebody does or says something that hurts you, we first need to take responsibility. And I'm trying to say this from the bottom of my heart, don't take it bad, don't take it the wrong way, is that we need to take responsibility to say, okay, how am I hurting myself through what this person is saying? When we're talking about emotional or mental pain, not physical pain, if a person comes and hits me, it's going to hurt physically. But if somebody says, Tommy, you're stupid, and it hurts, the truth is it's going to hurt to the degree that I already believe in what that person is saying. Because I truly don't believe with what that person is saying, it's not going to affect me. So again, things are going to affect me to the degree that I already believe them. If not, they're not going to affect us. So these people that are falling into this isolation, that they rather be alone than surrounded by people and thinking that that is spirituality, I'm sorry, but that is ego. We're meant to interact with other people. That's why I believe, and this is what my spiritual teacher taught us, is that before there was just light. Before the creation, there was just light. And then the creation happened. Yes, when there was light, there was not individualization. So we individualize to manifest our individual uniqueness here on earth by interacting with others and creating something unique. Because when I come in contact with another person, with my uniqueness and their uniqueness, and we create something, a nice conversation, a loving conversation, whatever that is that we create together, we're creating a new energy that has an imprint that is a mixture between us two. So God is expanding. That is how God expands. That's how I believe God expands. That's what I was taught, and it really made sense. So when you're not interacting with other people, you're not allowing that to happen. So I understand that it's okay if you're doing it to protect yourself, and it's normal that a lot of people do that. But I want you to understand that it's not spiritual, that normally it's coming from ego to protect yourself. Why? Because maybe, and it's okay, because I was there many years ago, maybe you don't feel that you can speak up, maybe you cannot bring your truth because they're going to judge you if you tell them that, I don't know, I haven't drank alcohol for now 16 years. And people ask me, Tommy, did you have alcohol problems? Were you drunk? Did you, something like that? No, I chose, my own choice was to stop drinking alcohol. My own doing. I stopped, eating lots of sugar. I used to eat a lot of sugar, and for 8 years I stopped eating sugar. And people would judge me and criticize me. So I went there, as many out there, to hide and think that that is spirituality, not interacting with other people because other people couldn't stand me. No, I couldn't stand myself. That is the truth. Because when somebody started judging me, I started judging myself. So it was me. At the end, it was always me. I was creating that pain within me. When we take responsibility, we can start making changes. But if I think that the other person is responsible for my pain, there's nothing I can do. I'm, depend on everybody else around me. And this is important to understand. I depend on me and nobody else. And I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying I'm 100% there all the time, but the more I work on myself, the more I realize that I'm a spiritual being that comes here to come and share my experience, to share my world. And if others don't like it, okay, that's fine. I can still get together with my family, my friends, and talk about silly, mundane things, like some spiritual people say, like, oh, I cannot stand these mundane conversations anymore. There's something to work on that. Why not? We are unconditional beings. If we talk about spirituality, we're unconditional beings. So when you cannot stand a mundane talk, you can stand something that is not coming from unconditional love. That doesn't mean that if I don't like heavy metal music, I'm going to get in there and love everybody then. No, I can send them love if they want to do that, to get into a concert, get into somewhere and listen to that music that for me is like, whoa, man, this is weird for me, right? I can still send love, but I don't need to go there. But I still see my family. I still see my friends from school. I can still do any type of activity, no matter what it is, because I'm pouring my being into whatever relationship, friendship, thing that I'm doing. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. What matters is that I can pour my being in what I'm doing. And in isolation, you are missing that point of being able to interact with others, to share that with others. And if others don't like you, if others say nasty things, whatever, learn how to set boundaries, don't get me wrong. And the other thing, if you're getting triggered, it's an opportunity to heal. So again, watch out, because this is a normal response from the ego to try to make us think that it's okay to become isolated, because again, it's trying to protect us from pain. So it means that there is still pain inside of us. So if you want to evolve, we got to get rid of that pain inside of us. We got to get rid of that negative charges from the human side and become more spirit. We are living this human experience, meaning that everything that comes with it too. How can I send love? I'm still on an ex-employee of mine sued me. Okay, and he sued me for much more money than he deserved. So I told him, if you want X amount of money that I owe you, you ask an accountant how much money I owe you, and I pay you that. And he said, no, I'm going to ask for much more. He said, no, I'm going to pay you for what you asked. So he ended up suing me, and we are now in a lawsuit. Now it's been 4 or 5 years since the lawsuit, and I'm sending love to him. And if I cross him in the streets, I'm going to send him love. But watch out, because the ego wants to go into isolation. The ego wants to protect you from pain, because spirit wants to talk to others. Experience wants to share with others, even with others that don't have the same point of view, even with others that want to talk about, I don't know, eating whatever. If you're a vegan, if you are whatever, how can you still send love and acceptance to other people that are living that experience right now? Because I'm pretty sure that you were not born vegan. So if you're deciding to experience life through choosing to eat in a vegan way, why not accept the others around you? And yes, you can suggest, and I do that. I haven't eaten pork, cow, chicken for 16 years. Every now and then, every now and then, maybe twice a year, 3 times a year, I might eat a little bit of fish. Okay? Sometimes. But I've learned, because at the beginning I would judge people that would eat meat, that would eat different type of animals, and I would excuse myself from, I need to be mean to you because, you're being mean to animals. And I realized that that is wrong. People need love. If we go into a war, for pro-vegans, we're going to war for cancer, war for this, war for that. We got to stop the war. Vegans talk about peace, but many, not all of them, go into war with carnivores. Let's stop this nonsense of dividing. You want to exert, you want to, for yourself, eat in a vegan way, eat whatever you want. If you want to try to protect animals, great. But respect if others don't believe the same things you believe. Because if not, you're falling in the same way. You think that now you can judge them and criticize them for what they're doing. No, I don't think that that is true. That is another ego trap. So you see, if we keep talking like this, you realize that there's a lot of ego in many of the conversations out there, even from spiritual beings. We got to be very careful because it happens to everyone. It can happen to me too. I sometimes go over my own material to check and see where I can improve. Where did the ego went out there and I didn't realize, right? Because it happens to everyone. We all have the ego. If we're not enlightened, and this is what I believe, if we're not enlightened, ego is still, there. It could play games. And the best example that my spiritual teacher told me, and it blew my mind, is Jesus on the cross. And I believe in Hinduism, Christianism. I believe in many different groups and their teachings, not all of it, okay? But Jesus on the cross, it says, I don't remember the exact words, I'm going to kind of paraphrase over here. It says, Father, why have you forsaken me? Father, why have you abandoned me? How could Jesus, right, how close he was to God, feel abandoned by God? So when my spiritual teacher told me this, and she always told me, Tommy, don't believe everything I say, discern, learn how to discern. When she said that, it really resonated in every cell of my body. She said that that was Jesus' ego, the human side of Jesus was dying. Not his enlightened part, his spiritual part, the ego part. So for me, it was like a great revelation of even till the moment that we're about to get enlightened, ego can play a game in there. So it's just being aware of the ego. Again, it's not going to war with ego. It's loving and accepting it because ego was created out of a lack of love and acceptance. So if you think that you are more spiritual, now you can start judging people out there, what they drink, what they do. That is ego. If you think that you cannot do certain jobs, that you do your regular job, not certain jobs, maybe, killing animals, yeah, it makes total sense. Don't get me wrong, right? And if you don't want to do it, of course, but certain things, yes. But most people are like accountants, lawyers, or, they're doing work at a bank or whatever, and they think that they cannot do it anymore, not because now they're spiritual. So if everybody becomes, spiritual, who's going to give us light? What's going to happen? Yeah, maybe you can think, okay, we're going to all have solar panels and a bit of light. Yeah, maybe yes, but till then, we need these things for now. So what I believe in is a lawyer that is more connecting, pouring himself, his being, into what he does. Instead of just focusing on money and making more money, is how can he pour himself in what he does? A doctor, pour himself in what he does. An accountant, a person serving coffee at a coffee store, pouring themselves in what they do. I truly believe that that is true purpose. These people that are looking for purpose on the outside, that is the ego. And I can keep going with giving you examples on how we fall into ego, thinking now that we're more spiritual, but actually we're in the same spot being run by ego again, but with different words. Now we talk about spirituality. Now we talk about meditation. Now we talk about healthy habits, healthy eating. But if it comes from ego, you're not really evolving people. Seriously, watch out with that. And it's not going into war with ego. It's just understanding what is going on and what do I need to work on. If you're watching, I want to really invite you to write hashtag live if you're watching live, hashtag replay if you're watching replay. I would really, really like that to know if you're here, if you have any questions. If this resonates with you, if you're watching on YouTube and you're liking this, follow me, hit that follow button, right? Get the alert whenever I go live, and I offer more insight and tools to help you with mindset, with your heart, connecting mind, heart, and soul so that we can become our greatest versions. I believe that we're meant for greatness, but if the ego is playing these games, it's going to make it very difficult to become who we are meant to be, because ego thinks that we are this other version of ours, and it's trying to keep us in that loop to protect us. It's not the enemy. So first of all, the ego needs love and acceptance to dissolve those behaviors. And then to step back and say, okay, when I'm looking at these people that are eating meat and I'm not, and I'm judging them, is that coming from ego or spirit? Spirit loves and accepts everything. Everything. It understands that we're living a human experience and that whatever we're experiencing, it's okay. So instead of judging others or moving away from others because it's uncomfortable, try working on healing, becoming more your true self, more unconditional love, and you'll see your life transform. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Take care. See ya.